Did you know a 2018 study showed half of prenatal vitamins tested had unacceptable levels of heavy metals? I'm Kat, mother of 3 and founder of Ritual. When I was 4 months pregnant, I couldn't find a prenatal I could trust, so I created my own. Ours is made traceable, third-party tested for heavy metals, and recently earned the Purity Award from the Clean Label Project. But don't just take my word for it. Get 25% off at ritual.com/prenatal.
We made this.
Hailing frequencies are open, and you are tuned to We Are Starfleet, a Star Trek Discovery podcast. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at StarfleetPod. We are a part of the We Made This network of podcasts. Please check us out at wemadethisnetwork.com. My name is Mike Slammer, and this episode celebrates the mid-season break of Star Trek Discovery Season 4. And I have to say, this is an extremely exciting conversation, and let's hit Black Alert and get right to it.
Black Alert. Black Alert. Black Alert.
Okay, so today I'm going to be sitting down with 2 very excellent people, extremely knowledgeable. I'm really excited to get into this. Dr. Amy H. Sturgis, who holds a PhD in intellectual history and specializes in the fields of science fiction, fantasy, the Gothic, and Indigenous American studies. What a resume. And also with us today is Ashley Thomas, writer and podcaster over at The Nerdy Blogger. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me on We Are Starfleet, a Star Trek Discovery podcast. We're going to be talking a lot about Star Trek. But first, it's cold. There's been some snowstorms. How y'all holding up?
Delighted to be here. Thank you for having me. And just really excited about talking with you. And we still have snow on the ground. It's starting to melt a bit, but still quite a bit out there. So I'm a winter child, so I'm loving it, to be honest.
Yeah. It was mostly just rain here, unfortunately. Slightly north of me, there were a few flakes. My husband did catch a few flakes on his way to the bank yesterday morning, so sent me a video, and that's about all the snow I saw yesterday. But hanging in there. I also love cold weather, so it's an excuse to wear hoodies and blankets and drink more coffee. So
a light jacket. I'm always about a nice hoodie or a light jacket, something you could put on, take off, you know. There's just something about feeling that comfort. So, Ashley, you and I have podcasted before, and you were telling me about this great person that we just had to have on the podcast. And we have Dr. Amy H. Sturgis here with us live in the virtual studio chatting with us, all thanks to you. So tell me, how do you all know each other?
So Dr. Sturgis and I have known each other since about 2008, I think. We connected on LiveJournal, of all places.
Whoa!
I was really getting my feet wet in academia of a science fiction and fantasy bent, and I had written my undergraduate thesis on Harry Potter and Narnia, and I had posted about that, and Amy found my LiveJournal, and we connected that way. So we've known each other for some time. And then about 2013, I decided I wanted to pursue graduate studies at Signum University. And had somewhat recently at that point moved to North Carolina. Amy lived about an hour north, so we got to meet up a few times, which was really fun. And she was teaching at Signum at the time. Signum University. Again, I can't remember if I mentioned that or not. Sorry. But that is where I would eventually pursue my master's degree in imaginative literature. And Amy is responsible for more than half of my coursework. I basically, I was working full time and going to school part time, but I took one class a semester for 4 years, and that's how I completed my degree. But Amy, every time Amy offered a course that I hadn't taken, if it could fit with my schedule, I did it. So, very
Wow.
much responsible for the majority of my coursework at Signum. So,
Wow.
yeah, so had the benefit not only of her science fiction courses, her early and modern science fiction courses, but a class on Star Wars, a class on Harry Potter, Sherlock Holmes, and now over the summer I actually got to audit her Star Trek course. So it was really wonderful
Oh
to
my
get to do that.
gosh. Amy, what's it like to have such a great person in your corner, hyping you up, gassing you up? Like, you're sitting here hearing all this.
I am the most
Are you hearing it for the
fortunate
first
geek
time?
girl on the planet. Let me tell you, I feel so lucky. And Ashley didn't mention we've done some science fiction cons together, and had some great adventures there as
Oh, that's
well.
true.
But
Yeah, morning coffee and TV
that's right.
recommendations and book
That's right.
recommendations.
And I think we have some old school cred due to the live journal meet there as well. So going back a ways, that it's the very, very best part of being in education in any kind of way are the brilliant people you get to meet and then be lifelong friends with and colleagues with, which is what we are now. So.
And I love that this all stems from Star Trek. It stems from Star Wars, Harry Potter. Amy, your course list on your website, www.amyhsturgis.com. I found your course list. It's impressive. It's extensive. And quite possibly one of the most, quote, relevant to my interests listing. You've got Star Trek, you got Star Wars, you got Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings. I could talk for hours. My friends and I have a group chat, and in the group chat, it's nothing but Lord of the Rings
Fabulous.
conversation.
I have just lived a really blessed life, to be honest. I love what I do and highly recommend loving what you do.
Could not agree more.
We talked briefly before hitting record here. No one ever tells you as a kid that you can do these things. You can grow up to be an expert on a TV show. When I was growing up, my mom was like, that TV's going to rot your brain. And now here I am talking to, a professor in this exact area. Can I just go to my mom and say, Ma, what are you doing? I could have been great.
Well, one of the things that I like to bring up now and again is we forget because of time. And as a historian, I get to say that, time changes our perceptions, but we forget that some of the works we revere now as great classics were considered lowbrow works for the masses, and they were considered lowbrow in part because they were popular. They had the bad taste to actually resonate with people, right? And so whether you're talking about Dickens or you're talking about Anne Radcliffe and the Gothic, or you're talking about, for that matter, Shakespeare, people wanted this entertainment because it actually spoke to something about us that was human and still does. And I think the fact that the medium has changed doesn't change the fact that great storytelling that resonates with people is striking a chord for a reason. And we should interrogate what it is that's speaking to us and why. I am now teaching third and fourth generation fans of some of these works. These are things parents give to their children, and big brothers and big sisters give to their siblings and share because it's meaningful. It's not just killing time. It's actually changing who we are and challenging us to be better. And so, and one of the reasons I, as someone who's interested particularly in intellectual history, which is the history of ideas, why I gravitate towards science fiction in particular, is science fiction is the genre where ideas are the heroes. And so what better way to study how literature and film and television can change our minds and push the envelope and challenge us about ideas, but also how it reflects, how those things reflect the ideas at the time, our concerns, our anxieties, our hopes and fears. If you want to talk about ideas, science fiction is one of the best places to go. So that's my that's my advertisement there for.
No, that's brilliant. And you touched on so many great points. And, I can see why Ashley would take every single one of your courses, because just listening to you talk about, interrogate the things that resonate with us. That is such a powerful statement to my mind, because
Have you heard about the 2018 study that showed half of prenatal vitamins tested had unacceptable levels of heavy metals? No? Well, now you have. I'm Kat, mother of 3 and founder of Ritual, the company making traceability the new standard in the supplement industry. I remember staring at my prenatal vitamins and finding all these things I was trying to avoid: high amounts of heavy metals, synthetic colorants, and unnecessary ingredients. So, at 4 months pregnant, I quit my job and started Ritual because I believe that all women deserve to know what they're putting in their bodies and why. I'm so proud of our prenatal vitamin. The ingredients are 100% traceable, it's third-party tested for microbes and heavy metals, and recently received the Purity Award from the Clean Label Project. You see, we trace like a mother because, let's be honest, no one cares quite like a mother. But don't just take my word for it. Trace for yourself with 25% off at ritual.com/prenatal.
as human beings, sons, fathers, brothers, sisters, we have all these relationships, our loved ones so close to us. And how do we reach them? And it's very easy when you're in these very close relationships, but when people start taking, 2 or 3 steps back, if they just become friends and acquaintances, how do you reach them? Stories have the ability to teach us how to relate to one another. And like you said earlier, all our ideas come from science fiction. You're so right. And I actually have a question, so keep that in the back of your mind, because I have a question for you later on that specifically. So, yeah, Ashley, you've been podcasting, you've been writing, you've been invited to the virtual premieres of Star Trek, right? So, it's so important to the science fiction, to the fantasy community, to have someone like you in that seat. It's a lifeline, because your voice is being heard, you're out there, you're collecting this information, and you're giving it to people like me who are there to consume it. What's that journey been like for you?
Like you mentioned, you as a kid, you never think that, these stories and films and TV shows that I love, maybe someday that will be your job. And you never think like that. You think, oh, I'm going to be a teacher. I'm going to be a doctor or lawyer or whatever, what have you. Pick a profession. I was actually talking about this with a friend the other day. It's like, my job did not exist when I was growing up. Even by the time I graduated high school, podcasting was not a thing. Blogging was barely a thing. So the whole idea of the fact that I'm getting to write about Star Trek, which I did not even consume until I was an adult. As I mentioned when we've podcasted together before, I did not come to Star Trek until I saw the 2009 film, which was pretty late in the game for me, who has historically loved all things in space. So the fact that I'm getting to and not just write about Star Trek, getting to participate with the Roddenberry as a corporation. I'm a staff writer at Sci-Fi 5, which is one of their podcasts, which is about science fiction history. Not only am I getting to do that as part of my job, I am doing something that I've done with everything that I've loved my whole life, is I think about it way harder than anybody else ever expects me to. So, like, I'm having these big philosophical thoughts growing up watching Star Wars and my favorite animated series, Gargoyles. Which has, by the way, has half the cast of Next Generation and a slew of other guest Star Trek actors later in the series. But I'm thinking way more about these things than anyone ever expects like a 10-year-old kid to do, and now that's literally my job, is like these same thoughts I've been having since, like, I was a little kid, are now me thinking critically and interacting with media that I love and care about as part of my job. So I feel really blessed and fortunate to be able to say that. I've worked jobs where I was good at the work I did, but I did not love it. And it, made my life really, if you're not happy, 40 hours a week plus doing what you do, that's not a good way to spend the majority of your week, friend.
Yeah, you're not going to be a happy person.
No. So, I'm so fortunate to get to do work that I love, and especially in a fandom that I love, like Star Trek. So,
outstandingly said.
Yeah.
And we are here to talk Star Trek. Amy, you have an event coming up, How Star Trek Changed the World and Why It Still Matters, on January 18th.
Oh,
I'm
thank
registered,
you.
by the way. Looking forward to it. Like, what is it about Star Trek that you connected with specifically?
Star Trek.
I know it's such an open-ended question.
It is. It is. And it's also, Star Trek is the one thing I don't remember starting. I remember being a little rear end in a little seat in 1977 watching Star Wars for the first time, but I don't remember seeing Star Trek for the first time because I think there was a time when I thought TV meant Star Trek. Because that was the thing that was there. I grew up watching the reruns of the original series and the current airing of the animated series simultaneously, and I understood, even being a toddler at the time, those were the same people. Sometimes they were two-dimensional and sometimes they were three-dimensional, but they were the same people. But I think why I keep coming back to it, and why it's been sort of my friend and my mentor all my life, is a sense of hope. I sometimes talk in class about Star Trek and Star Wars being in dialogue, because Star Wars suggests we move in cycles, and we'll make the same mistakes again. If we're lucky, we'll be better equipped this time to stop the bad trends and to stick with the better trends and such. But history repeats. But Star Trek is offering a different vision of how things move. It's offering this idea of evolution and progress. As a species, as a galaxy, as individuals, we can be better. And I naturally tend to plug in more to Star Wars vision of we're making the same mistakes over and over again as a historian. But as a person, I need the challenge and the hope and the faith that actually, when I fall down, I can pick myself up, apologize, and learn from that and do better next time. And that our species can do the same thing. And I think one of the things that, is part of my life and part of my hope is that the image or the vision that Star Trek gives of a better galaxy and people of good faith trying to do better, that's point C and we're at point A, and I want to be part of the B that gets us there. Does that make sense, to connect those dots? And so that is a motivating factor for me. I appreciate the faith and the hope that gives. And so I keep coming back to it. It's a comfort, but the flip side of the comfort is a challenge. It doesn't let you be complacent, because it's asking you to act and to be part of connecting those dots toward a better place.
Wow. I feel like our society is currently in this mode of extreme disruption, to use a really overused Silicon Valley term. But this disruption is leading to a lot of societal changes, and it's all happening so fast. Technology is outpacing our societal and cultural need for technology. So how do we handle these things? How do we deal with that? And I've always felt that Star Trek is the way, maybe not the perfect outline as to how we progress through, but it gives us the highway to get onto. You know, it's the on-ramp to our future. We can be that good as long as we follow these paths and we're open to these ideas and we're open to each other.
That's so beautifully put. And the openness, the idea that change doesn't have to be scary. Change can be opportunity if we're open to it.
Yes, but we have to be open to it. And I think that, yes, absolutely one of the biggest themes in Star Trek is, yes, you need to be open to it. So Star Trek Discovery aired back in 2017 and is remarkably different Star Trek from any of the legacy series that have come before. And it shares more in common with the J.J. Abrams film trilogy than it does its own TV shows. So what has been your overall impression of Star Trek Discovery in relation to its actual TV history? Do you feel that it's carrying that mantle forward?
Discovery has made really good choices about which parts of Roddenberry's tradition.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
It wants to push forward, and which ones it wants to either push back against or transcend or move away from, however you want to put that, in the sense that it is very much about the hope that Roddenberry wanted, and it is also about the diversity and the representation that's part of that hope. And we see, I think, a lot of continuity there with earlier Trek. But at the same time, it leaves behind some things I think are worth leaving behind. Part of that's because Roddenberry was a man of his time, and he wanted things episodic so that you could dip in and dip out and have a quick morality tale and then go somewhere else. But that doesn't allow you to have the long arcs that are a part of our viewing experience now. And when you don't have a long arc, when you don't have the chance to have continuity from one episode to the other, you can't deal with things like trauma, for example, because it doesn't matter if you were, assimilated into the Borg yesterday. Today you're going to be fine, right? And also the lessons that you can learn and incorporate in your own lives, building onto that, that can't happen without an arc. And of course, other Star Treks have done that, and Deep Space Nine really got the ball rolling there.
Right.
But Discovery takes that to another level. It's got the series or season-long arcs, and then it appears to be one big arc as a show as well. And I think that's fantastic. And I also think that moving away from Roddenberry's view of really, really perfected people in a perfect institution, Starfleet, is a good thing, because it's hard. And again, other Star Treks did it, and Deep Space Nine once again led the way there. But I find it more hope inspiring to see characters who are flawed, who can redeem themselves, who can evolve, who can make choices to do better, who have to go through conflict resolution, who have to have the difficult conversations, who have to do the work, rather than the perfect people who wouldn't have conflict to begin with. And same thing for Starfleet. And I think the most inspired thing Discovery did was jump 930 years into the future, because then instead of you have the same sort of architecture of building or rebuilding the Federation, but you also have all of the legacy of things the Federation didn't do well. And you've got to rebuild faith, and you have to rebuild bridges. And much the same way that Star Wars has said, let's think about the Jedi. Let's think how the Jedi would evolve. The Federation isn't perfect. And we are challenged and encouraged to think and ask difficult questions if we appreciate Starfleet didn't do everything right. The Federation didn't do everything right. And so now, is there a way we can move forward and not repeat those same mistakes? So my overall feeling is very positive. There are things I don't like about Discovery, and this may not be the time to talk about. There's things I think need to be changed and such. But I think overall, the continuity is continuity with important parts of Star Trek, and the things that are changes are welcome ones.
Ashley, you came to Star Trek following the J.J. Abrams film trilogy. So, same question to you, but from your perspective.
One thing that people ask, so you like Star Trek, which is your favorite Star Trek? And I say yes. All of the Star Trek is my favorite Star Trek. Because I genuinely find something interesting, or something to enjoy, or something that really makes me think in each series. I love the optimism of the original series. I feel like you get some of that same optimism in Next Gen. I kind of jokingly made a comment on Twitter a little while back: when I want to go to the future, but also to the 80s, I watch Star Trek Next Generation. And I really enjoy everything in 90s Trek, too. I love the storytelling in Deep Space Nine. I love how they tackle all aspects of human experience, like, including incorporating religion into their storytelling. I mean, because that's, whether Roddenberry liked it or not, that is an important part of how humans function, and that it's important to have these kinds of discussions, and how does that work together with all of this science and things like that we have. I think that's cool. But again, I love Voyager, I love Enterprise. Janeway's my captain. With Discovery, I was expecting to enjoy Discovery because, based on previous experience, I like Star Trek in any format that you give it to me. I was not expecting to straight up love Discovery. I don't know if you all are into personality tests or anything like that. My Myers-Briggs is ENFJ. My Enneagram is 8. And for those uninitiated, an Enneagram 8 is Michael Burnham is the kind of the archetype for that. Experience tremendous loss at an early age, and therefore goes out of her way to try to save everyone possible that she can. I once read a description. Enneagram 8s are often called the challenger. I don't like that phrase. I think courageous protector is the better one.
Interesting.
To describe, and I see that, and I love that about Michael, and like that part of her character really resonates for me personally. So a friend of mine, he and I podcast together, and we talk about movies on our podcast. And one of the things that he and I notoriously disagree on is he actually works in film. And so if we're watching the same movie and he sees like a directorial or an editing choice that he thinks like, but this just takes me out of it and just ruins the whole movie for me. And I always say, but the emotional beats, Greg. And this is every single movie argument that we have is he gets upset about something, a particular storytelling choice, and I say, but the emotional beats. And so, while yes, there are some things I would like to critique about Discovery, I think overall the emotional beats of the storylines are what get me. I can't watch the 2-part finale of season 2 without ugly crying every single time. There are many points in season 3 where I also ugly cry. And so it's just because it's resonating with me on a much deeper level than previous series have gotten to, and I think that's the one benefit of having this deeply serialized storytelling. The one, people say they miss the one-off episodes, and I do too, because those are fun. You get character development, all of that, but these long-form storytelling arcs that we're getting to do with streaming Trek versus broadcast Trek, there's definitely a benefit there. I think you get to tell a much more thorough story, a deeper story. So, but I think on the whole, the emotional beats,
the emotional beats,
the emotional beats of Discovery are really what keep me coming back to it, and relatable characters too. I also, I see like a lot of my own personality in Michael, but if you want to know what I look like in real life, that Tilly, very hyperactive, tackle hugs, waffle between like crazy self-confidence and wildly insecure. That's me, Tilly, right there.
I feel like Discovery has the kinds of characters and the kinds of stories that the more modern contemporary viewer can relate to, and that's almost on purpose. Have you noticed that this is very much the Star Trek show that winks at you and tells you, hey, you're watching a Star Trek show and we get you? Do you feel that coming through the screen?
I'd not quite thought of it in those terms, but yes, I can see that.
I definitely agree. And it's there in the Easter eggs. We just got Voyager, we just got the Archer doc. I mean, but it's also there in loving math, right? Loving the teamwork.
Yes.
The celebration. I mean, Jet Reno is just a gift to Star Trek, right?
Oh gosh.
But it's inviting you in on the joke, even when it's serious. If just like you said, just being aware of the audience and inviting the audience in, definitely. That's a great way. I hadn't thought about it quite that way either, but you're quite right, I would say.
It definitely feels purposeful, and I appreciate that because I like it when things are done with purpose. I have found, over the many, many years, we can go out and try and do all these things to kind of fulfill our lives, but in so much of television, you can just binge. With movies, you can just binge them. You can put them on. You can turn your brain off. And I like it when shows invite you to actually sit down and they reward you for watching. And Discovery is very rewarding in that aspect. The emotional beats, Ashley. Yes. So my next question, Amy, you touched on it a little bit earlier. Technology is a core component in science fiction. And Trek has inspired a lot of our modern technology today. We've got cell phones and tablets, Bluetooth technology. These things probably never would have even been thought of was it not for a science fiction writer. So I gotta ask, because I'll be honest, one of my feelings of let's not jump forward to the future, let's not go to the 32nd century, is how can you truly envision a year 3200 or 3181 or whatever year we're actually in. But how can we imagine future technology that isn't essentially just holograms and nanites? Because I feel like that's what the future is now. It's nanites and holograms. What do you
That's
think?
a great question. And tomorrow morning at 2 a.m, I'll have a great answer for you while I thought of it.
I'll look for your tweets.
My knee-jerk reaction is they sort of solved their problem in a way, because rather than giving us just unimpeded progress, they gave us a kind of dark ages with the burn. And so everyone was isolated. You didn't have the trade and innovation and all these different scientists from all of these different places bouncing ideas off of each other. If anything, they stepped back a bit. And so we do have, all the ships that can disassemble themselves and put themselves back in different order, and, individual transporters and these sorts of things. But a lot of the progress you would have expected the Federation as a whole to come up with didn't happen because of that period of isolation. And so I think they gave themselves an out there to say, we can't really think of, the magic that would be what 900 years in the future would be. So we're going to give you a big stumbling block or, speed bump that will interfere with that progress. So it's a little less awe-inspiring. And so people from that future could refit Discovery and make it believable in that way, in the way that we, there's nothing we have now, no vehicle we're driving right now would make it 900 years. I presume. Who knows? I may be wrong, but I think they gave themselves an out there so we wouldn't be so overawed that it would look more like magic than technology. That's my knee jerk.
I mean, your knee jerk is spot on. It's spot on. Ashley, what do you think if, for example, we have, I've got an iPad right here that I can follow along and take notes on. I've got a cell phone here. I'm talking to you virtually. The Star Trek of the 1960s is right now. That's happening right now, right? So the writers who are in the writing room of Discovery, as they come up with this future technology, do you think it's distracting having all this modern tech?
Maybe I need to learn how to imagine bigger and better, because with the things like with the programmable matter, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. The technical aspects of Star Trek have never been necessarily what has drawn me to Star Trek, but the emotional beats.
The emotional beats.
Yeah. So I personally don't find any of it distracting. I just like, oh, that's cool. And I just kind of take it at face value. I honestly don't think too much past it. I just, for me, it's the characters are what drive me for Star Trek versus like the technology stuff. Though I do find that fascinating, and like one of the things I really love about Star Trek is how the ideas that are being presented in Star Trek do eventually become technology that I have in my pocket. I think all of that is really great. So
I think you are absolutely right that Star Trek is, in fact, a character-driven, drama-inspired show. You could take these stories from Star Trek TOS and they could almost translate to a soap opera. It's all just skinned a little differently. So with that in mind, Star Trek has millions of these untold stories that fans are asking for. And Amy, Star Wars, in fact, is kind of doing this, telling these smaller scale stories on Disney Plus in a more episodic fashion, and it fills out the universe in smaller yet these sometimes critical details, and they also include all the fan service and they have a lot of payoff to them. So with that in mind, do you think Star Trek could possibly take a page out of that book and maybe tell a story about Starfleet Medical dealing with a Risian flu? Not to be too on the nose, but a pandemic of some kind across the universe?
Personally, I would love to see that. I really would, because we are at a time where it is affordable due to the technology they have, and accessible due to streaming. to make multiple series. I'm not so sure we haven't already started that just a bit, in the sense that there are now going to be multiple treks out simultaneously. And so you can have your episodic adventures with Strange New Worlds, or you can do a deep dive into the psyche of Picard, right? Or, have the Lower Decks or Prodigy, or it seems to me Star Trek may be taking those first steps, and I hope that's the case, because I think it's really rewarding to push the envelope in the storytelling. And in the same way that Star Wars is now going to have its underworld crime story, and it's going to have its spy story and its space western and these different things, as you just pointed out, like the medical show. But how fantastic would that be? And just focus on maybe a more intimate story or a lower stakes story where the galaxy isn't in peril constantly, where it's more like the medical drama, or more like, Star Trek already has a history. It has gothic stories, it has romance stories, it has comedic stories. So I think it's definitely rich enough and textured enough that it could do that. I would love to see that, and I would love to see different creators, in the same way Discovery has done, give creators a chance to go do their vision, and let them go do that thing, and don't make every Star Trek have to be everybody's Star Trek. And I think we're already on the way there. Not every Star Trek has to be my Star Trek now, and I think that's great, because that means more people will find their Star Trek.
Wow, Ashley, what about you? What kind of Star Trek are you looking for?
Yes, the characters draw me to Star Trek, but I think the thing I love the most about Star Trek is that it is about hope, and very similar to what Amy said earlier in our discussion about how, Roddenberry has this wonderful, wonderful idea of how humans can be better, and how we can connect with each other in such a way that, we don't have wars, we don't fight over resources, we don't do these things, and I think that's great. Star Trek makes me...
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Want to do that. Like, it makes me want to act on that. It makes me want to be a better human. I think any art that... my personal opinion, that if art is good art, I want to be a better human by the time I'm done with it. And Star Trek makes me want to do that. It makes me want to try harder to love my neighbor. It makes me want to try harder to, do what I can as one person, even if society doesn't. And I think the fact that I think all of the shows in some way point to that. Yes, you have the darker, edgier stuff of Deep Space Nine, but it also still points to that in some way. How can we work together? And I think, I love that President Rillick is she's part Cardassian, she's part Bajoran, she's part human. Like, I love that. I don't care that this is 930 years in the future. And yeah, I'm sure they're way past all of their, their garbage from Deep Space Nine. But the fact that that exists is amazing to me. Like, those heritages exist within her. It shows, it gives me hope. And that's what I love in Star Trek, is that it continues to push me to be a hopeful person, even when we're facing circumstances like we are today in our society.
I think there's always room to be hopeful, for sure. Yeah. And Star Trek is a good reminder of that. We are here to talk a little bit about season 4. So very curious to get your thoughts, Amy, and your opinions on the season so far. We've got this gravitational anomaly, the math of the thing. This dark matter anomaly is threatening the universe. But this universal threat is giving our cast of characters an opportunity to show the stuff that they're made of. So, Amy, is it working? Are our characters proving themselves capable? What do you think about our bridge crew? We've got Captain Michael Burnham. You've got Captain Saru, who is basically de facto first officer, right? And then you've got Booker handling all of his massive grief. And then you have Sylvia Tully, who winds up leaving the cast for a short duration of time, we hope. So, Amy, it's a lot to unpack with all these characters that we have. Tell me your high-level thoughts. What do you think?
Well, so far, I'm impressed. I will admit, I think the season thus far belongs to Chayla Horsdal as Rillick and Tara Rosling as Tarina. I think they've stolen the show. Personally.
Really?
But that's also because Discovery is giving me something I wanted. I try not to go into a new season with expectations because I'm not the one writing it, right? And I want to see what the writers want to do. And then I could be excited and surprised. But I did want to see more about this rekindling of the Federation. And what this anomaly has allowed for is, and I wasn't too keen on the idea, to be perfectly honest, because I'd love to have slightly less high stakes at some point. I do feel the show imperils the entire universe every season. And I'd like a season where it's just maybe a few thousand people imperiled. Just bring it down a notch for just a season. But to be fair, what this did, and I'm very glad to see it, it didn't turn out to be, we're just talking about the anomaly all the time. It actually then created this situation where it puts into high gear the process that was already underway. The Federation has to act. It has to have some sort of binding mechanism that means people really do need to take part. It even needs to have, there has to be this catalyst that means non-member worlds see a reason to come and see what's going on with this Federation, even if they're not invested yet. And so that did that. And so the anomaly created that, that excuse to make this all happen. So I forgive the anomaly. But I've loved seeing what this brings out in the characters, and the fact that we are having to deal with some bad faith in the past from the Federation. Earth isn't too sure about this, right? Other places aren't too sure. And of course, Navarre had to really have some serious diplomacy going on to bring it back into the fold. And I love the fact that Rillick is very clearly good at what she does and is bringing out really important things in Captain Burnham. And I loved a pendulum is one step away from a wrecking ball discussion that they had about her and her own life. At the same time, I don't think we should trust her at all because politicians are going to be politicians, and we've got reasons to think we need to keep an eye on her. And that feels right, even though we also see lots of things like Saru and Tarina finding some kind of connection there in the least likely place, and it's beautiful to watch that unfold. And as a metaphor for these cultures, the first culture that was out there in space versus the one that's just taking its steps and trying to decide if it's worth it to be out there in the stars. There's a lot there to like. And so there obviously are questions. They've left us with questions. What about Book? What about Tilly? Other things. And there are some things I still really want to see, like there's some really fantastic bridge crew we still don't really know much about. And I thought episode 5, for example, which is brilliant, I thought we were going to have a Reese episode, and we got a Reese moment. I'd still like a Reese episode. I'd like to see more with other characters. You've got a whole bridge full of very capable people we don't know very well, and I'd like to see each of them get a moment to shine. But so far, I think Discovery is following an excellent Star Trek tradition of learning from past seasons and improving on them. And so I think we've hit some really good notes here. Again, there's things I'd still like to see, but I've been really invested in what's happening.
Very good, very good. Ashley, you're here for the characters, and we've gotten a lot of character development thus far. To Amy's point, maybe not as much as we would have liked. I will admit, I would also like a Reese episode or an Owo episode. I had Oyin Oladeo on the show for last season, and she hinted at a few things that, this season I've been looking for, and I've been kind of seeing bits and pieces of it. But Ashley, what have you been really connecting with in these characters in the first half of season 4 of Discovery?
Yeah, I'm basically, listening to Amy talk, and I'm like, yeah, me too. And I kind of felt that way when I took her Star Trek class too. Like, I'd live tweet it, like, man, I just got to be like, if Amy were a rapper, I'd be her hype man. So, it's. I don't have a lot to say that Amy didn't already say, but I think for me, one of the things that made me feel really good about how I've been, for lack of better terminology, reading the show this season are two of the questions that I got to ask Sonequa Martin Green and Mary Wiseman in the interviews I did with them for Fangirlish back in October. Actually came into fruition in episode 4, All Is Possible. I asked Sonequa, one of the things I had noticed in her performance is that her ability to embody both her human upbringing, her, that fiery passion that she has, how she just won't quit, versus like her Vulcan upbringing, her cool Vulcan logic. How do both of those upbringings come into play in the captain's chair? And Sonequa was genuinely flattered about that question because she's like, I'm not sure that comes across in my physical performance. And that's really where I notice it more than anything, is just how she embodies that role. Getting to see her form the elegant solution in All Is Possible of being a person between two worlds, a citizen of the Federation, a Starfleet captain, but also a child of Vulcan, now Navarre. She is bringing both of those worlds into play, and is serving as a peacemaker in that situation. I think that's really cool. So it made me feel good about reading her character. But the thing I asked Mary was, how will we see Tilly's leadership abilities come into play in season 4? And we get that she is a great mentor and a teacher to Adira, really helping Adira feel settled and encouraged in their role as an ensign. But then watching her interact with those students, these Starfleet Academy cadets, these, that are, the one thing that Tilly's really good at. Tilly is really good about making sure everybody feels included, and that everybody has a friend. And she really, they said it in the episode, these students don't know how to do teamwork because they've grown up isolated. Watching her really bridge that with them is really, really good. And so I'm totally stoked about her going to teach at the academy. I think she's going to be amazing in that role. But I keep waiting, because they've not said anything like, is Mary leaving the show? Or, is she taking a break? What's the deal? Are we going to get a Tilly spinoff show? Or, some people have speculated that. I personally don't see that happening. But I want them to hearken to her back at Starfleet Academy. I want to see what's going on there. I want to see how she is shaping the new up-and-coming class of cadets. So that character arc, I feel like both of those arcs are going as I expected them to, which makes me feel good about how I'm interpreting the show. I love the connection with Saru and Tarina. I'm going to say I ship it. You gave me salt tea. Here is this plant that, I'm gonna, show you a science with this plant. That's a way to woo how do you say a person from Navarre? I keep wanting to say a
Navarian.
I keep wanting to say a Vulcan, and that's not correct. But this is how you do it with science. Good job, Saru. I think that's really sweet. I don't know if either of you got to watch the Ready Room episode with Doug Jones. That one's worth a watch. It's it's in the extras on the Paramount Plus. It's also on YouTube. But go watch Will Wheaton's interview with Doug Jones. They talk a little bit about that. It's really sweet. And I'm gonna throw another yes please on more Bridge Crew. I was really excited when we get the little teaser at the for the rest of the season. We see everybody walking out in that badass armor. Even Saru, who's sweet and gentle, and if he's just gonna let loose on somebody if he gets in if they get in his way. But everybody's wearing that super cool armor.
Yep.
We see Owo land in a big punch. I was like, yes, this is gonna be so cool. I'm really excited to see, because we've had very emotional, thoughtful Trek. There's definitely been some action early this season, but it looks like we're getting into the we're getting into Kirk two-handed punch mode. So
there's an episode of Star Trek Voyager. It's one of my favorite. And it's the one where Captain Janeway, she rips off the tunic, and it's just her sleeveless, and she's strapped up.
That's Macrocosm. That's my favorite episode.
She's got the phaser rifle, and you're like, yes, it's badass, bitches, it's going down. It pumps you up, and we're getting that here, I feel like.
Yeah. When they did the Indiegogo for the Voyager documentary, they had a Janeway t-shirt with that. It's grab a phaser and follow me. So I bought in at that level. Also got my Janeway coffee mug coming to me, so really excited about that. But that's my favorite episode of Voyager. That makes me really happy that you brought that up. So thank you.
We're 7 episodes into season 4 here, and we can see that this newly formed Federation is up against it, right? Amy, from your perspective, speaking historically, a fledgling Federation, a Starfleet in dire need of new personnel. You've got brilliant scientists taking off with experimental spore drives. Recipe for disaster, or?
That's a great question. I think there's an opportunity here for some collaboration and cooperation and team action to go against this. And the vote for trying to do this the right way, I'll obviously you can see how I would have voted. It is the right way. From my perspective, as well as the winning vote there, balanced against, the people going off and doing their own thing. That's a kind of a classic Trek conundrum there, or conflict, I should say. And particularly when there's so much personal on the line. This isn't just the survivor of the planet that was destroyed. This is also the captain's significant other, and so it's got a personal connection to our main character, and then it's got this huge stakes issue. It could be disastrous. I think there's going to be some really amazing action going and stopping this before things go past a point of no return. I have faith, but I think it'll get ugly before it gets better. And again, I think that'll be an opportunity for the crew to step up, and also maybe some cracks to show in the Federation that will be long-term cracks to watch to see where that falls apart. But I think there are some alliances there that will hold the test. I don't know if that's the whole Federation or not, but I'm anxious to see what happens. I hesitate to make any guesses, but I'm anxious to see what happens. And I also think it's important that Zora is on the team as well.
Interesting. So, Ashley, I'm going to pitch my final question over to you, which happens to be about Zora. In the last episode of We Are Starfleet, Ian and I broke it down. We talked about Zora gaining sentience, what this means, what does the future hold for a sentient starship computer. And as fans of science fiction,
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
With the Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
This is your captain speaking. We've got clear runway and the weather's fine, but we're just going to circle up here a while and get lucky. No, nothing like that. It's just these cash prizes add up quick. So I suggest you sit back, keep your tray table upright, and start getting lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Computer off. I have an Alexa device, and I switched its name to computer, and it just woke up. So
I have this same problem. I watch Star Trek in the living room, and she starts talking to me. I'm like, hush.
It's a cool idea when you set it up. You're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to talk to it. And then you start doing stuff. You're like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah. She's like, no, I can't turn the lights off. Stop it.
But a starship gaining sentience presents a whole slew of issues. And from your perspective, as a character, I love the idea of including the starship because historically speaking, we've always considered the Enterprise to be a character in and of itself. We've always considered Voyager to be a character in and of itself. So why not give that character a voice? What do you think?
I like the idea. Also, can I just say, as a horror fan, the fact that we have both David Cronenberg and Annabelle Wallis in our
good shout out
cast and crew, I'm pretty happy about that. For the uninitiated, Annabelle Wallis is in a slew of James Wan films, which I've talked about on another We Made This podcast, Real Talk, talking about Malignant. She's in the Conjuring films, which I've not seen because I don't do possession movies. But she's great in Malignant. She's actually really great in Malignant. She did a lot of the physical work for that film herself, which was really cool. But yeah, now we've just got her voice, and that's great. It's interesting to have a benevolent AI, which, again, she's not AI. We don't know what to call her. We have a benevolent sphere data plus AI plus ship's history.
So it's just like a mishmash versus of stuff that's come together to create this new life form. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's not HAL 3000, that's for sure.
Although she did say, "I'm sorry, I can't do that." I laughed out loud.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. It's true. Right? But yeah, I'm really curious because I mean, Amy is much more the science fiction historian than me, but I can't think of another setup where we've got like a truly benevolent, non-corporeal, humanoid-ish entity like Zora, that has all this knowledge and capability, but also is capable of emotion. I'm really pressed to think of something quite like that. I can maybe think of like certain things that might mishmash, but not one particular story. So happy to be corrected on that if anybody listening and or Amy has other thoughts. But I'm really interested to see what they're going to do with Zora. Because she's definitely got a little bit of personality. I did get a little bit of a War Games vibe in Stormy Weather, where Gray is using the game to help her process her thoughts. And for those who or may or may not be familiar with War Games, the only winning move is not to play. And this is how the Whopper learns this by playing tic-tac-toe over and over. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting way for her to, I mean, just like a human, like we process our emotions through different things. For some people that's music, or writing, or something I've done my entire life is I process my emotions through the lens of fiction. So whether that's stories or a TV show I'm into or a film, thinking about those things abstractly helps me process them in the real world. And Zora is doing that here too through that game. It's helping her to calm down and allow her to, figure herself out. So I think that's a really interesting concept. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but I'm happy to watch and find out.
There's definitely a lot of story that could be told, and I theorize in our previous podcast that the big moment, the big emotional beat that we're going to get at the end of season 4 is actually Zora choosing a new form and leaving the Starship Discovery crew. And that's my theory. I'm still working through every piece, but I do suspect, because at the end of the day, having a sentient starship does present a host of advantages and disadvantages to the storytelling mechanism. Amy, before we leave, do you have anything that you specifically wanted to shout out regarding Star Trek Discovery?
Yes. I'd like to just give a big shout out to my favorite quote of the season thus far.
Ooh, I love
because it feels very, very appropriate to our times. And it struck me hard when I heard it. And this is from Saru. Probably no big surprise. I like him quite a lot. When he says, "In truth, we are on an island together. We must ask ourselves, do we honor our interconnection, or do we curl inward like a leaf folds from its tree?" And that's sort of a question I ask. Ever since that line came out, I sort of want to, every morning looking at the news, ask that question. And it does seem to be, our state as human beings, if you want to consider, we are on an island together, on a planet together. And I think it's one of those great Star Trek moments that is very relevant to the episode. It's very relevant to the moment in time when that episode aired. And it's also going to be relevant 25 years from now when, another generation is watching this show.
Wow. Wow. Powerful. Ashley, any final thoughts?
There's been so much good to unpack this season, I think. There are things that are personally resonant for me. That line from Saru, that's very emotionally resonant to our time. And like Amy said, will definitely carry into future generations. I think one of the things that I've only really seen in one other show, and again, I found that I have a decidedly genre bent in my TV watching. But I recently, a few weekends ago, watched all of Ted Lasso. I don't know if either of you have watched Ted Lasso. One of the things that I really love about Ted Lasso is that it takes a realistic look at grief and trauma and the importance of counsel, mental health. I love that we're getting that focus this season, and we're looking at trauma and grief and the need for counseling, as this is a regular part of what you do. It's not a thing that you do just when something bad happens to you. This is a thing that you do because it's part of being a healthy person. This is part of taking care of your own health. I love Culber's realism in that. One of the things I started questioning is like, so who counsels the counselor? And Culber getting to work some of that out with Kovich, getting to see how everybody is working through these big emotional, like, traumatic events they've experienced over the past several years. Yeah, we're watching a sci-fi show, so yeah, getting into bust-ups is, that's pretty common, right? But, if you experience that in real life, that's going to be oh, wow, I almost got the snot kicked out of me today. Like, I need to process that. I just jumped 930 years in the future, and everybody I've ever known except the people on the ship are dead. I have to grieve a whole lot of people. The fact that we are getting a realistic look at trauma and mental health and grief, I think is just really wonderful, and I think that's something that's going to continue to be emotionally resonant. And I don't see, I could be wrong, but I don't see a lot of other shows doing that, or films doing that for that matter. I think it's really important that is happening, because it's a conversation that needs to happen in our society. So, yeah, that's my take on that. I think that's going to stick with me.
That's really well said, and I'm so glad you brought all that up. There's a lot that I need to unpack from just our conversation alone, but I do want to say thank you so much. Before I leave you, Amy, where can I find you on the Subspace channels, on the networks, on anywhere? If I want to sign up for one of your courses, where would I go?
All of my information and news and links to things are posted on my Twitter account, which is DRAH Sturgis, Sturgis, that is, DRAH Sturgis. My website, amyhsturgis.com, has links to all of that stuff as well. And I would invite people to come by. I've published several things on Star Trek, and there are links to those things where they are online or where to find those. And I am currently co-editing a new book on Star Trek that has essays from scholars around the world. That is co-edited with my colleague Emily Strand, and that is coming out of Vernon Press next year. And that information will also be on my website and will be on my Twitter feed. And I would also invite people to check out Starship Sofa, which is a Hugo Award-winning podcast, and I'm very fortunate to be contributing Looking Back in Genre History, which is a segment that runs once a month. I've done quite a few of those on Star Trek-related themes. They're all available there to download for free. And my website also has a list of those that I've contributed. So if you're just looking for Star Trek content, you can go there and find it on my website on the section on podcasting. But this has just been a huge delight, and I want to thank you again for letting me be a part of this conversation.
Thank you. It's all thanks to Ashley. She was the one who put this whole thing together. Really, thank you.
Any excuse to hang out with Amy.
Thank you so much.
I can see why. Yeah. Amy, we'd love to have you back on We Are Starfleet anytime you want to come on. If you've got something you want to say and you're like, I need to talk about this pronto, you hit my DMs and I'll bounce right out of the captain's chair and hand the con over to you.
Thank you so much. I will take you up on that. I'd love to be back. And this has just been fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Ashley, you are at The Nerdy Blogger. Where on the Subspace networks are you?
Yeah, so you can hit me up on Twitter and Facebook. I'm on Twitter at The Nerdy Blogger. I'm at facebook.com/The Nerdy Blogger. So you can read my words in a few different places. You can read them on my blog, nerdyblogging.wordpress.com. You can also read my words on fangirlish.com, where I'm the resident Trekspert. So I'm covering all the Star Trek shows, including Star Trek Discovery, Prodigy, Lower Decks. I'm going to be covering Picard and Strange New Worlds when they come out. So basically, if it's Star Trek, I'm talking about it on there. You can hear my words being read on the Sci-Fi 5 podcast. It's a Roddenberry podcast, 5 minutes of science fiction history, 5 days a week. And you can also hear me aside on the We Made This podcast network, host of shows here. You can also hear me on Dearly Debated, which is a podcast I do with some friends where we fuss at each other about film and television, comics, whatever it is that we're geeking out about. So you want to hear me talk about the emotional beats, and you can hear my friend Greg disagreeing with me.
I love that name, Dearly Debated.
Thank you. Yeah, I can't take credit for it. My friend Nathaniel, who is the main host of the show. I think he or his sister came up with it. One of the two. Either way, it's really good. I like it.
I want to say thank you one more time. It has been wonderful having you both on We Are Starfleet to talk a little bit about the mid-season, get some historical perspective, break down some knowledge, and unpack a lot of what this all means. Don't be surprised if I hit you both up to come on when the season has fully concluded. Maybe we can come back and talk a little bit more. Yeah, I'm seeing some thumbs up.
Happy to talk about Star Trek anytime.
Great stuff. Thank you so much. I am so grateful. Thank you to the listeners out there. My name is Mike Slamer. This has been We Are Starfleet, and we'll see you next time. Live long and prosper.
Elsewhere on We Made This. Academy Watch.
I saw West Side Story actually the other day, and I didn't really connect with it. So, some I like and some I won't, but generally I like the idea of a musical. Disney films, the animated Disney films, tend to enjoy them.
Of course. Are you a La La Land person? Because I was definitely a La La pet.
I hate La La Land. I just could not stand it.
Wow. We can't be friends anymore. I'm just gonna hang on. How do I turn this thing off?
Yeah. I've lost a lot of friends over this opinion, but I hate it.
Garfield is the best Spider-Man and La La Land is shit. Like, what?
I just like to be controversial.
We dig music. But yeah, just missed out on my list this year. There was The Garbage Record was great, so I'd Godhead off that.
Yeah, I was surprised that didn't end up on the main.
It was close.
I was surprised to not see it.
Wet Leg, who have released 2 songs so far. There's another one apparently coming out
Terrible
later
band
this week.
name.
Yeah, I can't get behind it. That's what our old history teacher was called, Mr. Wetleg. It's actually Westlake, but apparently he pissed himself once.
Amazing. Yeah, it's a fucking terrible band name, but they're great.
It's like if Wet Leg toured with pissed jeans. Can you imagine?
Right in the childhood.
When I was younger, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man looks way older than I was as a kid.
He looks older than you do now.
Way older than I am, yeah. And that was a constant thing in the cartoons as well. Like in the cartoons, like the 90s one, he looked older. And that was the cartoon I watched when I was younger, was the 90s one. And we would have done that for this show. But as soon as Disney Plus came out, I binge watched it all, and then I encouraged you to watch it.
Yeah, and I've watched it as well.
And then we started the podcast,
and we were like, "Oh shit, we should have saved it."
That should have been it. And then there was another one with Neil Patrick Harrison, which I probably did.
What, as in Doogie Howser MD?
Yeah, and
Ooh, I'm going to put that on my list.
A Doogie Howser.
Doogie Howser MD.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.